drive down. And the entire VAB? It's so huge that the Roman Colosseum would fit on the roof with room to spare for a parking lot. By volume, the VAB can fit 3.5 Empire State Buildings, and it would take 250 billion ping pong balls to fill it.
NASA is known for dreaming big, and big dreams require big equipment. I'm standing next to the Crawler Transporter, the largest self-powered land vehicle in the world. It was originally built in 1965 for the Apollo program, and has since been updated to accommodate the Space Shuttle and now NASA's SLS rocket. Weighing in at 6 million pounds and capable of lifting and hauling 18 million pounds, the Crawler is an engineering marvel, even without a rocket sitting on top of it. This thing has 2,750 horsepower V16 diesel engines that can carry the Crawler up to a top speed of, wait for it, 1 mile per hour while carrying a rocket. Keep an eye out for the Crawler as we approach this area. And remember, we are visiting a working spaceport, so while the Crawler may not stay in one area for very long, it's bound to be out here somewhere. Now, let me introduce you to my friend, John Giles, the Crawler Project Manager.
I'm standing in front of Crawler Transporter number 2 at the Kennedy Space Center. Crawler Transporter number 2 will be used for the SLS program to take the launch vehicle back and forth to the pad. We will begin by going underneath the mobile launcher. We'll pick it up, we'll take it over to the VAB. They'll then assemble the launch vehicle on top of the mobile launcher, and then we'll come back to the VAB. We'll slide underneath it again, we'll pick it up, we'll take it out to the pad, a trip of about 4.2 miles. It'll take us about 7 hours to get there. But during our trip to the launch pad, we'll roll over a specially prepared crawler weight that consists of anywhere from 8 to 12 inches of special rock. Below that is limestone that's about 4 feet thick and compressed to hold the weight of the crawler and the motor.
I'm going to pause that and I'll come back to it here in a minute. I want to point out several things in this area. These 3 buildings in front of us, they used to be the orbiter processing facilities where they would process the shuttles. Today these buildings are leased by Boeing. The first 2 have their X-37B spacecraft, and then on the right, that's where they assemble the Starliner capsule. At the very end of the buildings here on the right, that smallest grouping of buildings, that is our press site where the media gathers to report on the rocket launches. Out in the distance, slightly to the left, you're going to see Launch Pad 39A. Every astronaut that walked on the moon left from that launch pad. Now to the left, that white building that's next to the vehicle assembly building, that is the backside of the Launch Control Center where they give the final go or no-go on the rocket launches. When I make this turn here, on the right-hand side of the bus, you're going to see a segment of the flag painted to scale. And those stars are 6 foot point to point. If you look at the Artemis logo and then draw your eyes up and to the back left, you'll see an actual human-sized door. Now there's a movie that was released on July 12th called Fly Me to the Moon. It starred Channing Tatum and Scarlett Johansson. They filmed it here, and they cleared this parking lot for 2 days, and it was full of just antique cars. If you ever watched that movie, it was really great. On the left-hand side, this white building, I've been told it's one of the most important buildings here at Kennedy Space Center. It is the cafeteria. They say no lunch, no launch.
No launch.
Directly ahead of the bus, that Boeing building, once again, if you look at that, it has a notch in the door, and that was for the tail of the orbiter when they would park it. The other 2 buildings have the same setup on the back side. And speaking of doors, if you look at these doors on the vehicle assembly building, they are, as Emily stated, the largest doors in the world, 456 feet tall. Whenever they pulled the first SLS rocket out of there, they cleared those doors by about 6 foot. Now, Crawler 2 is the vehicle that was designated to move the SLS rocket. And Crawler 2 and Crawler 1 are twins. We have the opportunity to see Crawler number 1. Now, both of them weigh a little over 6 million pounds. They can haul a little over 18 million pounds. And when Crawler 2 took the first SLS rocket out to the launch pad, the trip of 4.2 miles, it did take them a little over 11 hours to get out there. So you'll better understand why these vehicles are equipped with a kitchen and a bathroom on board. Now there's been a gator that's been frequently hanging out down here. I don't know if it's there right now. It's my first run out this morning, but just look in this area.
Launcher. And then below that is some hydraulically compacted sand that can support all the weight. And then once we're there, we'll drop it all off. And a few days later, there'll be a launch. We'll come back, we'll pick the mobile launcher up, and we'll bring it back to the VAB to start the process all over again.
With 50 years and some 3,000 kilometers or 2,000 miles on the clock, NASA expects the crawlers to be in operation for at least another 3 decades. How cool is that? The latest refurbishment is complete.
On the right-hand side, you're going to see the crawler here in just one moment. It does have some yellow handrails, an American flag, NASA logo. It has a cubed area that's projected out. That's the driver's seat. They have one on either side. That large gray structure there on the left is a mobile launch platform. That's what they stack rockets on. That's what it crawls under, picks up, and takes into the VAB for the rockets to be stacked. And that to the right, that is the crew access arm being built for SLS 3 and 4. Coming up on your right-hand side, we're going to be passing a body of water. This is what we call Gator Hole, and sometimes there's gator, sometimes there's manatee, and sometimes there's absolutely nothing.
But why, some say, the moon? Why choose this as our goal? And they may well ask, why climb the highest mountain? Why 35 years ago fly the Atlantis? Why does Rice play Texas? We choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other thing. Not because they are easy, but because they are hard.
When President John F. Kennedy made this speech in 1962, he set in motion an era of discovery that would change humankind forever. 7 years after he spoke these ambitious words, the world watched as Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin became the first people to walk on the moon. The achievement of the men and women who worked on the space program in these early decades of NASA helped propel the technology we use every day. NASA and the thriving private space industry at Kennedy Space Center today are the living legacy of their story. As we arrive at the Apollo Saturn V Center to learn more about that historic era, get ready to step back into a time when NASA had everything to prove to a nation focused on one goal: to be the first country to land a person on the moon.
You know, some of you saw that turtle. That's actually a gopher tortoise that was on the right-hand side. Those tortoises are federally protected. If you were to touch one, I have heard anywhere between $5,000 to $10,000 fine to touch it. Okay, directly ahead of the bus. Again, that is Launch Pad 39A. It is currently leased by SpaceX. They launched their Falcon 9 and Falcon 9 Heavy rockets from there. On the left is 30. That's where they launched the SLS rockets. These two launch pads are the most famous launch pads in the world, having launched all the Apollo missions, all the Shuttle missions, and today the SLS rockets. Now directly ahead of the bus here, we have a gated area. This is what we call our moon garden, and it honors all the Apollo missions. And if you look at the trees that are planted on the inner circle, they are the grandchildren of seeds that were germinated in space. And they call those moon trees. They're actually sycamore trees, but they call them moon trees. And that was done on Apollo 14. When you exit the bus, there's 2 large silver doors here. There'll be a short pre-show, and then if those doors close before you get off, do a quick loop around the moon garden and come back. And their short pre-show, and then a second pre-show has all the original equipment from the Apollo era. And then when you go into where that rocket is, they did film a portion of the movie Armageddon in that engine area. Lastly, it's NASA law that you exit through the gift shop, go straight ahead and look for the large red umbrella. Any bus will take you back. My name is Terry. You're on bus number 9.
Oh, thank you.
Have a great day.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Welcome, guys. Enjoy the local tour. Time to gather around. Thank you.
这是机器电影啊。对，等我问一下。是外星来的说。